Howdy, everybody. I just wanted to check in to see how everybody's doing. A couple days shy of the devil's birthday, which is Halloween. Then after that, we'll be into Christmas season, where we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And so it's a wonderful time of the year, and I thought I'd share a few of my favorite Christmas carols. And I jotted them down on a piece of paper so I wouldn't forget. Now, these are just ones that I can remember off the top of my head that I've been singing since I was just knee-high to a grasshopper, just a little kid, you know. And before we get started on the list, I just want to say that when I was a kid going to school, everybody in the class, all year long, they practiced Christmas carols. And they would get up on stage in front of the whole school and sing them. And that's the reason why I know a lot of these Christmas songs. Back then it was okay to sing songs to Jesus. You know, times have changed and we're not allowed to do that anymore. I don't even think they call Christmas vacation anymore. I think it's called winter solstice vacation or pagan 2-week vacation. And then it used to be called Easter vacation in the spring, and now they call that, I think, spring break. That's where everybody goes to the beach and gets naked and drinks a lot of booze and takes a lot of drugs and has a lot of wild sex. So times have changed, but I remember these songs, and maybe a few of you might remember some of them. And to me, maybe I'm biased, but this is some of the best music ever recorded, in my opinion. Faith has a way of bringing out great art, whether it's in music, like you just think of Handel and Bach and all those great masterpieces they did, and those were religious pieces. You know, these Christmas carols are religious songs about Jesus Christ, and all those great paintings from the Renaissance. Renaissance. We used to call it Renaissance, and now it's called Renaissance. So words change, how you pronounce words, that they change, and what words mean, they change. So all those great paintings from the Renaissance, all the great architecture, you think of all the great sculpture and music, it's just incredible. And faith has a way of creating all that emotion that builds up inside, and it manifests itself by coming out into those art forms. So without further ado, we'll just get right to it here. O Christmas Tree. The German word for O Christmas Tree is O Tannenbaum. I believe that's German for O Christmas Tree. I remember when I was just a kid, that was one of the first songs I ever remember hearing. And I was just completely blown away how anything could be that incredibly beautiful. I mean, I thought at that time, and I still think it's one of the greatest songs of all time. I'm not even sure if that's a Christmas carol, though, come to think of it. Breath of Heaven, that's not a Christmas carol either, but I wanted to mention that one by Amy Grant. That is just an incredible song. If you get a chance, if you haven't heard it, I believe it was recorded in the 1980s. And I keep it in my playlist a couple months before Christmas and a couple months after. I keep a playlist of certain Christmas songs that I like. Chris Tomlin's Emmanuel, O Come Emmanuel by Chris Tomlin. He only sings 1 or 2 verses, but I keep that in my playlist around Christmas time as well. Okay, Silent Night is on my list as well. That's a very popular song. I think everybody would probably still remember Silent Night. I'm pretty sure everybody remembers Silent Night. Here's one you might not remember, or maybe you never heard of. The only reason I heard of it was because I bought these Christmas books from a thrift store, like literally 50 years ago, 40 years ago. And they have all these wonderful songs in there. And I didn't know the song, but at that time I could read a little bit of music. Just the notes, you know, so I can get the melody. And then they have the chord changes above each measure. So The Bells of Paradise. If you ever get a chance to hear that song, it's probably on YouTube, unless it's, you know, YouTube doesn't like Christmas songs for some reason, you know, nowadays. Now, before the new ownership, there was a lot of Christmas songs that did really well, but lately they don't do so well. But you might be able to find that one, The Bells of Paradise. Incredible melody, very sad one. Oh Holy Night. I think everybody would remember Oh Holy Night. It takes a really good singer to pull that off. You gotta know what you're doing to sing Oh Holy Night, because you can really look foolish if you try singing that and you can't carry a tune very good. You know what I mean? But certain people can pull that off. Oh, Little Drummer Boy, you know, that's not my favorite, but it's on the list, so it's one of my favorites. But I've always liked that song. We Three Kings, that is one of my all-time favorite Christmas songs for sure. Christmas carols, I should say, excuse me. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse far, field and fountain, moor and mount. God, I can't. Mountain following yonder star. Oh boy, I'm so embarrassed. Oh Little Town of Bethlehem. I bet a lot of people haven't heard of that one, and that's always been one of my all-time favorites. I love that song. I used to play that on the guitar. I haven't for a long time. There's some pretty tricky chords if I remember right, and like some kind of like 9th and 13th, 11th chords that I don't normally do. I've been playing the guitar for about 100 years, and I'm still basically a little bit more than a beginner, really. Everything I learned in the first 2 or 3 Mel Bay books and Hal Leonard books. I learned a lot of different finger picking patterns, and I learned bar chords and just regular chords, but mostly I just stay right down there in the first position and just play, you know, the regular basic chords. You can get a lot of feeling out of those chords, though. You don't have to play up and down the neck lightning fast. I do know the whole fretboard as far as all the notes, you know, like I can just look at a fret anywhere between 1 and 12. After 12, it just repeats itself, and tell you almost instantly what that note is. I'm not bragging or anything, but I know a few scales, you know, but I just never really found a desire to learn a lot of scales and to play fast. And there's nothing wrong with that. I love rock and roll music and heavy metal music. Not the satanic heavy music. I think that's what really killed rock and roll. That and grunge was the final nail that killed rock and roll, in my opinion. During the 80s, you know, it started in the late 60s with the Rolling Stones' Satanic Majesty's Request, that album they put out. Then Led Zeppelin, you know, were kind of sneaky about putting in satanic lyrics and playing it backwards, you know, instead of other things. Then in the 80s, it was just right in your face with Iron Maiden and just the blatant evil stuff, you know. And yeah, it sounded heavy, and but it really has a negative downward effect. And in my opinion, that really was a gut punch for rock and roll. And then grunge came in, which I like grunge too, but I mean, it's very, very dark music, and it finally just died out. Plus the demographics changed and people's taste changed. You know, rap became very popular, and it's still pretty popular, I guess. I like a few rap songs. I like that song, gosh, I don't know who sings it, but it's "Wanna Be a Baller, Shot Caller, 20-inch blades on the Impala, baller, good look, got the switcher on tight, I'm on the highway, I'm on the flyway, but there's gotta be a better day, yeah, yeah. Big baller, shaking that ass, smoking big chiller, getting high in the hood. And I'm whirling and I'm twirling and I gotta move on." So moving on up the list here, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. For sure, that is one of my all-time favorites. Now, I sing that almost every year. I don't always record it for YouTube. But I'll get around to doing that one again probably in the next several years. Good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Hark the Herald Angels Sing. I love that song. It's always been one of my all-time favorite songs. I played that on the banjo a couple of years ago, and I think I still have that up. I took a lot of them down It didn't sound half bad as I recall, but I was playing a lot of claw hammer then, and I never really could get the feel of the claw very well. I love clawhammer banjo. A lot of people are great clawhammer banjos. There's a lot of great ones. Chris clawhammer, Chris is great. Of course, Clifton Hicks, Noah Klein, you name it. Aaron Stevens. The guy, there's another guy. I'm forgetting their names. That's why I don't like to rattle off names. I might forget somebody and leave somebody out. But there are a lot of great banjo players, clawhammer specific banjo players, and a lot of banjo players can be playing one song and they can switch up between clawhammer, between finger picking, and then another verse they might do an index finger upstroke, like do 3 or 4 styles, right hand technique in one song. It's just amazingly talented people out there. So I think I want to do that one again. I'm not going to have time this year, and we're only allowed to, by law, to sing these around Christmas time. That's why they call them Christmas carols. Christmas songs are only allowed to be sung in November and December, I guess. I think there's a law. That's because it must be a law, because that's the only time you ever hear anybody singing Christmas carols or Christmas songs is November and December. So I'm assuming that there's a law that, but next year, good Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. Oh, come Emmanuel. That is, I love that song. I covered that one last year, and also I did a collab with Kate, Lady Campion. You got to check her out, her channel. She is an incredible singer. We did a collab. I played the guitar, just a simple right hand finger picking pattern. It leaves room for the singer to shine. It's not a very busy guitar part at all. And I came up with a simple chords to play, and just Kate knocked it out of the park. I mean, she is an incredible singer. You got to check her out. Lady Campion. Kate, I believe, is her name. But I think she uses other names as well. I'm not sure. Excuse me if I got that wrong. The Coventry Carol, Lule, Lule. That is an incredibly sad song. That's not a very well-known song. It's one of the saddest songs you'll ever hear. That's about King Herod, who heard that a king was about to be born in where the heck was that now? In Nazareth, in Israel. And so he ordered the first newborn males to be executed, or like up to 2 years old or something like that. And he wanted them all killed. So that's why that's why Joseph and Mary, they got on the donkey and they moved to Bethlehem, from Nazareth to Bethlehem, to get away from this monster, maniac, fascist king, Herod, who wanted to kill all the babies because he was afraid one of them might take his throne, believe it or not. So, Nutsville, I know. So Jesus was born in a manger. A manger is a fancy word for a barn, where animals sleep and eat and do other things. That's where they do everything, in the barn there. Away in a Manger, one of my all-time favorite songs. I just love that song. I watch the Andy Griffith Show. There's a great version of Away in a Manger. Andy and a gal, his girlfriend, were singing that at a Christmas party they had there, and just an amazing song. It was a great performance, very simple. You know, some of the best performances are just a simple guitar part and singing. You know, you don't have to have a symphony, not a sympathy, but a symphony to sing these songs. And they don't have to be complicated. These songs were written a long time ago, and they were much more complicated when they were written. There's a lot of, you know, 9th chords, 11th chord, 13th chord, augmented, diminished, you know. But you don't have to play them that way, really. You know what I mean? You can dumb them down enough so where you can play them. And I mean, if you can play them that way, that's great. And there are a lot of incredible guitar players that they don't even need a singer. They can play the melody on the guitar and right, it's just amazing, talented people out there on YouTube. It's just anyway, the Cherry Tree Carol. I want to try to do that one again. I sing that one probably every year or every other year. There's a really interesting story to that one. The Cherry Tree Carol. Uh, Joseph and Mary. Joseph was an older man, okay, and Mary was a young lady, and they were out going for a walk one day, and Mary tells Joseph, "Joseph, gather me some cherries, for I am a child." That's what they did in the old days. Cherries were supposed to help with the baby in the womb, I guess, to keep it healthy or bring it good luck or something. And Joseph had not yet had sexual relations with Mary, so he's thinking that Mary was out fooling around on it. So Joseph gets angry and says, "Let the child of the baby gather cherries for thee." So then up spoke the baby Jesus from within Mary's womb, bowed down the tallest branch till it touched Mary's hand. So bent down the tallest branch all on its own until it touched Mary's hand. In other words, God made Mary pregnant. Immaculate conception, that's called. If I was vulgar, I could have said God knocked Mary up, but I'm not going to be vulgar, and I'm not going to be hallowed be thy name. That means you don't make fun of stuff, about that. But God has a sense of humor, I think. I hope. Otherwise, I'll never make it. Angels we have heard on high. One of the beautifulest melodies you can ever hear in your life is "Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains." And then there's this, which I've always had trouble with. The chorus is just Gloria. I can never get enough breath to hold it out. You're supposed to hold that note out the whole time, and your voice is supposed to remain really steady, not shaky at all. I could never do it. I've done it. I think I still have a version or two up on YouTube. I would like to do that one again. I could play that on the banjo or the guitar. Good King Wenceslas. Oh yeah, I play that one every year. That's one of my all-time favorite songs, and I'm not even sure why it's a Christmas song. It could be just passed for a traditional folk song. A benevolent king, King Wenceslas, lives in a castle, and with a little foot page, and there's a homeless person on Christmas Eve out in the snow setting up a tent right outside, right up against the mountains there, and the king is looking out over his realm, and he happens to spy upon this gentleman out there sleeping in the tent. And he asks his little foot page, what the heck is he doing out there, and he tells him, well, he lives out there in the tent. He doesn't have a home to live. So good King Wenceslas says, well, let's go out there and get him and bring him back to the castle, put him by the fire. We'll give him something warm to eat. We'll pull out a couple bottles and have a good time, do some singing, sing some Christmas carols, tell some wild stories and stuff like that, just have a good time. And so that's what they do. They go out there braving the cold weather and the snow and the rain and the sleet, and just an incredible song. But there's no mention of the Lord in that song like there are in almost all these other ones. So that's it. I'm sure there's other ones that I'm just plumb forgetting. When you get a little older, you'll realize that your memory sometimes fails you. But I'll go through my old books and see if I forgot some. Well, thanks for watching. I don't want to hold you up all day. God bless, and happy Halloween and happy Thanksgiving, happy Christmas, and we'll talk to you later now.